Listen up.
Welcome to the PowerShell Podcast, the podcast for PowerShell and the PowerShell community. And now, here's your host, Andrew Plaw.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the PowerShell Podcast. Coming at you with another week, another amazing episode, highlighting amazing people, projects, blogs, and everything else in the wonderful PowerShell community. In that same vein, I've recently announced that there are the PowerShell Podcast MVP Awards, where I and the listeners submit nominations and we choose maybe some unsung heroes in the community who need a little bit of a shout. So please send your nominations to PowerShell@pdq.com. Would love to get some more in there. Appreciate that. There's also the PDQ Discord and the PowerShell scripting channel, which has been super blowing up lately. Thanks to everybody who's joined. A lot of really cool chats going on there. So I appreciate all of you there. I recently, and in fact, like 30 minutes ago, just finished doing a PDQ webcast. It's a weekly thing we do on Thursdays, covering different sysadmin automation topics. And this time we covered Office 365 and Microsoft Graph with PowerShell. So I had a pretty fun week preparing for that, getting my hands dirty in some PowerShell. Microsoft, the Graph API is interesting. Kind of enjoyed that. A lot of endpoints that you can do some cool stuff with. So I look forward to doing some more cool stuff in the future. I know David Richmond was talking to me with some cool ideas about the chat endpoint and doing some automation, maybe some trolling with chat messages. There have been some cool projects in the community this week. There is PS Shared Goods, which is a module by Evotech. We love them. A lot of amazing projects. And this is a module covering functions that are shared within multiple projects. So it'll get you some tools to help you there. There is a cool script called Easy Packet Loss Tracker. And this PowerShell script helps you monitor packet loss on your network by continuously pinging a specified target and providing real-time updates. So I definitely recommend, this is a cool one if you want to actually use it, but also look at how they did things, read the script. Might be a good chance to learn something. There is a fantastic new blog. If you're in the AWS world, you want to learn about PowerShell Lambdas, David Christian at overpoweredshell.com wrote an awesome blog post with an intro to PowerShell Lambdas, creating an automatic shutdown policy for EC2 instances. I know we give a lot of Azure love out here. Shout out to you, AWS people, in the trenches, doing the work. Let's go. There is another blog from the techbloggingfool.com about PowerShell. Find remote desktop servers on a domain. So check out that blog. It's mostly just a little snippet of code that you can use. And shout out to them. Want to see some more blogs? Love to see it. Tip of the week. A few people mentioned this. I put out a tweet asking for if you had 1 minute to teach someone something in PowerShell, what would you teach them? And a lot of people gave some very passionate answers. I think once you learn PowerShell, you really do enjoy professing it. I'm seeing that for sure in my notifications. But the tip is know how to deal with objects and their properties. So checking out and being aware of things like select object star to list all the properties. Maybe if you need to visualize some of that data, piping things to out grid view. And also want to add out a little shout out to out grid view -pass through, which turns the little grid view that you get into kind of a GUI that can pass through the objects that you select to another command if you want. So kind of a cool way to add some manual filtering and give you a nice and easy way to start developing tools with a graphical element and some manual intervention. Sweet. Running through it today. I want to invite our very special guest today. Now, this is, I like to say, one of us. This is a PowerShell Podcast family member right here. He's been with us for a really long time. It's been super awesome to see him grow up and glow up, to be honest with you, in the community. Clayton Tyger, welcome to the podcast. We're here to talk all about you and celebrate your recent announcement of becoming a PowerShell Microsoft MVP.
Thank you, Andrew. All because of you. It's amazing. It really is unexpected and amazing.
Dude, I knew whenever I met you and I first ran into you, I knew that you had a lot of promise. You never know what people are going to do or what, where they want to take things, really, because anything is possible if you put your mind to it and are kind of dedicated. But very early on, I figured I identified that you had the right mentality of like being comfortable putting yourself out there, engaging, not getting in your own way too much and allowing yourself to really grow.
No, definitely. and with the kind of your encouragement and others in the community as well, here we are. I'm speechless still.
Dude, it's super cool though, because a lot of the things that I talk about on the podcast of like, hey, here's how you should go approaching contributing, and you should blog, and you should work towards creating a project, and you should try and speak a little bit and get some influence there and be just a supportive person. And I think that's what you're so fantastic at, man, towards me in the podcast. And I see it all around the community. You're such a positive, just a pleasure to be around, and you really help bring up the spirits a little bit. So really appreciate all that. But it's cool to have like said that, like, yeah, this is the recipe to success right here.
It is.
You know, people need to take their time to do it, but you've done it, man. And it's really cool to see you bearing the fruits of that labor, man. As we say, like when you do things the right way, it's better for everyone. The community has benefited because you've done great things. You've created projects, you've shared your knowledge, you've inspired others, and even more so now. But also, you get some recognition. You get a little bit more sway at work, you know? Shout out to Clayton's employers. This is a big dog we're talking to here. Make sure to, hook a brother up.
I'll
Dude,
send
clip that. Yeah, tell your boss. Boss, come on, man. Yeah, Clayton is awesome, and you guys are lucky to have him. To have an advocate both internally who is also passionate externally, you got to savor that. That's a rare breed right there. So congrats to you, man.
Thank you.
I'm so happy, dude.
And literally, I followed your kind of, I'll say not timeline, but your recipe to become an MVP. It's like, get out there, make a GitHub. I didn't have a GitHub before I met you. Or if I did, it was like nothing on it. Basically, get the GitHub, and I basically made sure I had a private, make sure you do have a private repository first. The reason when I say that is because in the beginning, when you're new, you're going to put credentials in there by accident. It's going to happen. It is. Like, I did it, and I was in my private one, actually on a different account than I normally use too, but create that private one. So anything that has credentials, do that. And then have a public one too. And then if you want to even get more granular, make for certain subjects and start posting there. Like, you'll be amazed of how much help you'll get from it. Christian Ritter helped me a ton with a 365 Automated Lab in the beginning. When he had a little more free time, and now he's doing big things too. He's talking a bunch now. Like, it's crazy. He's talking at Summit.
Dude, he's another one that I'm like, this guy's got to figure it out.
Yeah, and he's flying from Germany.
I want to say Hamburg. I don't know though. Hamburg.
I'm sorry, Chris.
He's flying from somewhere.
Yes, far away.
You got that part right.
Yeah.
To be with us. So much appreciate to him. But I want to highlight this. So we always talk about getting started on GitHub. You're sharing your experience, which was one of the keys to success where you are now. And that is to start a GitHub, but a private GitHub to begin with. Something lower pressure. If you make mistakes, if you accidentally upload something you shouldn't, you'll be a little bit more safe. Still don't recommend it.
Right.
But
it's going to happen.
Yeah. But like, so you got started there, and then you had your GitHub, and then when did you do a blog, and how's your blog set up?
Blog is actually so I've always teetered with kind of blogs, but never fully got into them prior. I actually lost a bunch of weight. I used to be 100 pounds heavier than I am. Well, about 70 pounds heavier than I am right now. I lost 100 pounds back in 2017. Took me a year to do it. And I was like kind of blogging on that, kind of doing that whole thing, helping out people. Awesome experience. I had to do it. Was having my daughter when I first started, like 3 months later, and it was going to be tougher to lose weight once I had her. So I was like, let's start now, get stuff in place, kind of like starting the fundamentals, get that foundation going, and then ride it out. And that's kind of did it with PowerShell. Can I get those foundation and first, and then expand off that?
Just riding the success. Love it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's true that type of formula works for everything, right? It's the ability to grow and learn and take one next step and build something that's sustainable.
Right.
Love to see it in all areas of life.
And just a little bit, like, I mean, I probably not as much right now, but every day is probably at least an hour of PowerShell. Just a little bit, like, and I do usually in the morning. I rarely ever do it at night. That's my daughter's time, family time, but just in the morning. That's just when I do it. No one's awake. It's just me and my computer and the community. And then, of course, like Twitter and stuff after work on that kind of thing. But the actual like coding time is in the morning. No one's up, and it's just me.
Oh yeah, I get your messages at 5 a.m. very regularly. So you are an early riser, my friend.
Yep. But I do go to bed at 9 o'clock, 9 to 9:30.
Yeah.
So that's
Anytime I go to bed early, I'm like up at the crack of dawn, which is kind of like nighttime still. So I do enjoy that as a night owl myself.
right. I used to be a night owl years and years ago, and then I just switched, and I haven't changed back.
Nice. But all right, so you figured to start doing public stuff. So when did you first get introduced to the community? Like, what were your first impressions? Were you totally with it from the get-go?
I was like, so everyone's always been friendly. Like, no one's been a jerk that I've seen. Like, at least nothing very obvious. I'll say that. And I forget exactly. Like, I've known about PowerShell for years, but then it kind of went in and out between, depending on during job wise. But yeah, but in the past couple of years, it's been great. I mean, everyone's super friendly. And actually, from you guys, like on the podcast saying, just put your stuff out there, see what happens, ask questions. You're always going to get a helpful person. Like, you're not going to get, you might get that one jerk, but it's everywhere. But I honestly, myself, I haven't. And it's been only good things. Like, I've had people reach out to me, 4 months after Summit saying, "Oh, I think this might be helpful for you." Like, how crazy is that? Hadn't talked to him before, prior, went to one of his talks, didn't even talk to him at the talk, but like, we knew of each other and kind of talked a little bit on social media, and it was like, "Oh, I think this would be real helpful for you." And it was. So it's just putting yourself out there, meeting different people, and just getting those connections. Like, it's what it's all about. Getting those connections of no one's a specialist in everything. So, have that wide variety of, or so when someone comes to you, like, I know I don't know everything, but I'll find someone that does. Like, someone might say, I need something for SQL. Okay, go talk to Christy. Go talk, that whole crew. Like, I don't know enough to speak on it. Like, talk to the specialist.
Yeah. And you can sort of have that network of different experts at different things that, as time goes on and you become more of an expert and take on bigger challenges, you need a little bit of guidance on a particular thing. You have a pretty awesome resource who can share what to them might not be a lot of effort to share something based on a lot of experience they've had or something that's very common to their mind. Could save you a ton of time.
Right.
But so someone is out there, they've heard of PowerShell for a long time, like you said you have.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for someone to help them actually get started with doing things and maybe actually automating things at work or getting involved in the community? What advice would you have for them?
Just start. Just honestly, just start. It's the hardest part is just starting. It truly is. But once you get that little bug, you're good. Like, honestly, like, I'd done it before. I'd start a little bit and I'd be like, "Oh, too busy at work." If I had started way back when originally, and that was probably 2014, 15, I remember. It was probably 15 when I first heard about PowerShell, dealing with AD, of course. But I'd be too busy. It's too hard for me. I'm not I have no technical IT background. I went to school for marketing, but I've always been into computers. My dad worked for IBM, so I just start. Like, it's gonna be tough in the beginning. It is. Everything's tough when you first start and you don't know it. And ask for help. I'll help you out. If I can help you out, I will help you out. If you have any issues, I know Andrew will. He has the open email in the PDQ Discord as well too. Reach out to him. Anyone will help you out.
For sure. You don't have to be prepared to come into the community. You don't need to get to a certain level for you to be okay to ask things and be welcomed and not laughed off. Come as you are. Come right now. We are ready for you. I would encourage you to share. People, first of all, it's a lot of times easier to help someone who is a beginner. So that's great for you. And also, as you can hear by everyone we talk to on this podcast, we love helping people. We love sharing the passion that we have with PowerShell with others and really the gifts that come with learning PowerShell. It seems ingrained in our community that people who have seen the light with PowerShell or who've really experienced the benefits love sharing that with others. Love passing that forward, because a lot of times we spend a lot of time with this technology to get to where we are. Sometimes we are struggling with it, just like you may early on as we learn new concepts. But to be able to like benefit and help others benefit from those struggles we went through is a very fantastic gift that you're giving someone by asking for help and by sharing where you are in your journey. We don't need everyone to be experts. We need people of all levels. So beginners out there, get engaged. You're ready now.
And I've helped coworkers too that they're super beginners, and I've learned things from them because we'll dig into something, but oh shoot, I know you can do that, and you just learn. You're both learning, so they're learning a lot more, but you're still learning as well. So it's a win-win. And once they know, then you guys can then collaborate. So then projects get done faster. You can automate more. I don't know any job where someone's not busy. So there's always plenty of work. So automate as much as possible, work with your team and just find out ways to make things easier for you, because there's always going to be plenty of work.
Plenty of work, more than we can probably do. If we look to automate things, it makes our day-to-day lives easier. It can free up our brains to learn more challenging things and take on bigger projects with a larger impact. They look good and shiny on that resume of yours as you keep developing these skills. And it's so worthwhile. Just be selfish with it. Teach others just so you can learn better. Write scripts so you don't have to remember everything that you do. And you can share them with your coworkers, and you have less to run. You don't have to be the only one doing your thing.
So one way I told one of my coworkers, probably not the most HR appropriate, but I say, basically, you want to be able so you can come in hungover tomorrow and not have to worry about it. If you say, basically, if you're that, like, it doesn't matter, you just hit a button or not even hit a button and it just does it. So you don't have to worry about it. Like, that's how simple it should be.
And you can get there one step at a time.
Yep. And it'll start with small little one-liners. I've tons of one-liners that just help me out during work. That, before there's click, I can log into Graph or I can log into 365, click. Why bother? I can just, run a little script, maybe type one parameter in, and I'm done. And so I don't have to remember it. Like it just makes life so much easier for you and your whole team.
Oh, I can geek out for it all day, man. The fact that you can do one task and you can share those efforts over time, it is just so much better in so many ways. Maybe it's like the gamer in me or the person who likes efficiency or whatever, but man, it feels so much better. I could not handle going back to manually doing everything and not building something that makes things better long term and sort of thinking about that bigger system at play. I would go mindless.
Right. And then even too that it's getting done the same way every time. It's not like, oh well, Jim did it. Do you do the same way I did it?
Less pressure on you to perform the right actions. We do get stressed out. We do have a lot of things going on. Let's take pressure off of ourselves and put it onto a script that we can save. And as time goes on, we improve it. We can revert if we need to. Let's get it off of our working space in our brain. We need this for different topics, for Reddit, for browsing. Work stuff, we need it for other things.
Like for big projects.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Okay,
yeah.
But even and say if you are starting out, if you can work with someone, at your job or find a mentor, maybe you can put a little playbook together. Have a playbook so that you can test stuff out and you can kind of troubleshoot off of it, and you have this documentation for yourself going forward as well too.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people actually reach out. I gave someone a shout out in maybe the episode before, Adrian, who's going to start running internal PowerShell meetups.
Nice.
I've heard other people too have been doing it. They were expecting like 10 to 15 people to come. They said 30 people and the meeting ran late. So if you're interested in increasing PowerShell adoption and just getting more people on the same page, maybe some PowerShell want to teach others. Maybe it's a group study session where you each pick like a kind of beginner topic and work through it together if you're more on the beginner side of things. But getting that engagement within your company is super valuable. But I got to mention, it also helps to engage the community at large and getting involved in some way. Go to one user group, maybe one a quarter. See what it's like.
Yep. When's your next one coming up?
There is one coming at the end of March. That's a great question, though. A good user group leader would know all the dates. But did I ever claim to be a good one? No, a great one. Meetup.com. We'll have a link in the show notes. People can check it out. We have David Richmond coming to talk about handling credentials in Azure Key Vault. Doesn't get any better than that. Yeah, he's actually going to drive down. He lives in Florida, and so I do the Gainesville PowerShell user group. We have 2 meetings a month, one virtual, one in person that we also share online. And yeah, David is going to finally pay us a visit. He's going to drive down, give a presentation with us, hang out with us at the little after party. It's going to be a good time.
Leave his beach.
Yeah, I keep saying, yeah, he lives on like the nicest beach in all of Florida. He does not live on a beach. He says he wishes he did. But in my memory, you are living on a beach, my friend. So enjoy.
Awesome.
Yeah, this should be fun. I'm sure we'll see you. We regularly see you in the chat. You go to a lot of user groups, though.
I try to, yeah, just to kind of see what's going on. Even if it's something I already know or not, just hearing what's going on. There's a lot of chatter, a good chatter, very welcoming too. I usually don't have my camera on or anything because usually my daughter's near, so can't have that going on too much. But yeah, just definitely go. What's it called? The Triangle group was last night. Theirs was last night. That one till like 11 o'clock last night. Yeah, it was late. When I had to actually stay up late because I had to give blood work this morning, so I had to fast. So I made sure I stayed up late so I wouldn't wake up early.
Nice. Wake up early and hungry.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll give a shout out to PowerShell.org/calendar. That includes a lot of the user groups. Once they have a meetup scheduled, it kind of automatically grabs it and adds it to the calendar. And March 28th, 5:45 p.m. Eastern time, your boys group is going to be going live with David Richmond. So you know where it's at. We'll see you on Zoom.
Yep. Can't wait.
Yeah, honestly, user groups are great. I like them because they're a lot more hands-on. You can have like kind of side conversations. You can create new connections. And mostly what I get value out of is the little throwaway comments, the throwaway things where it's like, oh, hey, yeah, this project solved that for me. And, I definitely learned something from the talks themselves. But so often it's just the little things that, wow, that is a project that will save me a ton of time and I have to do almost nothing. All I had to do is come here and hear about it. Or you make a new friend, which in this day and age, it is really nice to have friends.
Oh, yeah. And you'll still make one little comment and then you can just message them off, off the meeting. And I've done a bunch of times. Super helpful. Like it saved my time, saved myself many, many hours of trouble. Just they made a comment, like, oh, that's actually useful. So let me reach out. Or I let them know, like maybe I already knew something about that, but it's a great topic or a great find. Let them know. And also if you see people that are doing good things, let them know. They want to hear, like they're busy. I don't want to say they're stressed, but probably stressed. A lot going on, and just even though part of a blog, say it's a 2-minute blog, but it was super helpful for you. Just leave a comment, email them, reach out to them somehow, and let them know, tell them that's useful because it'll mean the world to them. It really will, because a lot of times if you don't hear anything, it's like, is anyone even reading this thing? Like, with
for
no
sure.
feedback.
And I mentioned this in an earlier episode. The best first step to get involved in the community is just share appreciation for whatever you're using and consuming already. You read a specific blog, maybe you're checking out Clayton's projects, maybe you're reading PowerShell is Fun by Harm Veenstra or some of James Brundage's projects, whoever it is, let them know. Say thanks. Say I appreciate that. And if you have a question, also ask that. But it's kind of hard there's different challenges at once. First step, just say thanks to somebody who does something helpful for you.
Yep. And it goes a long way. I did to you guys. I'll show my age of how long I've been watching the podcast. I think it was like one of the first podcasts you guys did. You had to, let someone know that they're doing well. And I shot you guys an email, saying, really appreciate this is great. Really need something like this. And here we are.
Dude.
I'm on.
And not to give away too many secrets, but we reached out and established a bit of a group of like-minded individuals trying to do cool stuff in the PowerShell world, which is sort of the kind of organic things that can happen when you put yourself out there to be discovered and to say, hey, I'm into this stuff too. If people don't know, they can't help you. Same thing with your bosses at work. If they don't know the awesome things you're doing, if you're not making your work valuable, they won't know to ask you. Same thing goes with ourselves. We just got to advocate for ourselves. And yeah, I mean, honestly, whenever you reached out early on, it really meant a lot. It is very valuable to me. A lot of times people, including myself on the podcast, put a lot of effort into things when they can get any kind of recognition and know that what they're doing is serving someone in some way. Oh man, fires me up.
All it takes is one person. It's not 50, like just that one person saying something nice. It goes a long, long way. That's all I got. It just means a lot to people.
Yeah, and then it just leads to a better life, really, because when you treat people with that kind of kindness and stuff like that, maybe it'll come back to you and you'll feel like it kind of makes sense because you've been this sort of positive influence and you've done some stuff. Now you receive the positive influence. It's just a better world to live in when you are doing good stuff.
No one likes a jerk.
That's so true. Don't be a jerk. Be nice.
Right,
people want to work with nice people.
Right. That's all. You don't have to be the smartest person. Just don't be a jerk. And someone will help you out. And then you can become the smartest person.
You can.
And not be a jerk.
You can. But, I talk to a lot of really smart people, and every single one of them has struggles and flaws. And to get to where they are, a lot of challenges. To get to where you are, to get to where I am, been a lot of challenges. A lot of times I thought I wasn't good enough. A lot of times I thought, man, I can't learn this PowerShell stuff. I need to just give up. But as time goes on, you kind of maybe get a couple wins, push through some of those hurdles, get some confidence going, see some other people that you want to kind of emulate, work towards that. And over time, you can end up in a fantastic place like you, Clayton, man. So awesome to see, man. It gets me fired up. I'm so proud of you, man.
Like, it's just wild. It really is. Just especially just over a year. Like that's really I really only started really blogging a year and a half, but maybe 2 years ago, tops.
So why did you decide that you were going to be like, all right, let me do this community thing a little bit. Let me really try and actually do things. Why did you decide that?
So it's going to sound not bad, but like damn patronizing, but it was because of the PowerShell podcast. You guys talked about, get yourself out there, meet more people, everyone's great. And you weren't lying. Like literally, I knew I needed to do it to make my job easier, like work wise, or to be able to help other people too. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do this. Like they're doing it. It's a great podcast. Like they seem to know what they're talking about. So let me just try it out. And community's been phenomenal. Learned a ton. I mean, I have this network of people I can just reach out to that 2 years ago I never had. I mean, I had some, but not the level I have now. And then I also now have network that someone comes to me, I can help them out. So,
and that feels great.
Which is great feel. Yeah.
Dude, paying it forward is the best feeling ever, man.
It really is. It's just like, oh yeah, no, I know that. Or, I can't help you out with it, but let me get you this person and they will take care. And you don't have to worry about it. It's not like we're some industries where it's like, oh, reach out to this person. You never know what you're going to get sometimes. So, but everyone that I'll say that Andrew or I give you to, or probably most PowerShell people, it's going to be a good person. Like, I've said I've never gotten someone who's a jerk, so I think we're good.
I mean, for me, I feel a little indebted to the community and to the people who have helped me out because I don't know if I would be here without that. Probably eventually over time, if you really never give up. But really, my journey has been made so much more possible by the people who helped me out. And I appreciate the way that PowerShell has impacted my life and career. And paying that forward it just feels like the right thing. And it feels so good to do. And it leads to a better community overall, which we benefit from. When you can build someone up and bring them to a place where they're doing awesome contributions like what Clayton's doing now, you get to benefit from that improved community. It's not a selfless act. It's nice to do things for others. And if that inspires you, that's fantastic. But ultimately, you can think of it from the perspective of like, you want to make your world better, make those around you better. Mm-hmm. That's a great way to go about it because that's the environment you exist within, both inside your work environment and in the community at large and whatever other areas of life, honestly, you interact with people. We just talk about PowerShell here, though.
Exactly. But I still remember reaching out to Doug Fink years and years ago because I had a question and he helped me out. And then I kind of got out of PowerShell for a little bit. And then when I got back into it, he's still around. Like, it's kind of funny that like now I talk to him like very frequently kind of thing where it's like, I looked up to him like he was like an untouchable. I mean, there's like now people I talk to that I thought, 2 years ago, they're not going to talk to little old me. Like, I'm a nobody. They're not going to help me out. And everyone's open arms. Let me help you out. Send me over the code. Like we'll talk through everything. It's just awesome.
It really is. And ultimately, we are all people. I know it sounds so silly, but for me, that was a realization. I really thought that some of the people who I really looked up to were just built different. They really aren't. A lot of times, it's just a lot of effort and years of slowly improving to get to where they are, which you can replicate, which Clayton has replicated, which others have replicated. This isn't a new thing, right? Like these things are truisms because they're true over time and they kind of make sense.
And like I'll be honest, like I kind of mentioned a little before, but like I probably literally average at least an it's not a much, but it's like an hour a day of PowerShell. Like I'll say, yeah, some days I don't, sometimes I do, but like I try to make sure I wake up, eat breakfast, do dishes if I do them the night if there's some stuff, and then I do PowerShell for a minimum an hour, and that's just kind of what my morning routine is to make sure that because if you stop using it, because I've learned in the past, if I stop using it for a few weeks, it gets a little even from a few weeks it gets a little sketchy. I don't say sketchy, but it's a little tough when you go back to your code and you're like, oh, what did I do on this again? And so it's just having that even honestly to start half an hour a day or 15 minutes a day. Just try it and see what happens.
All right, fill in the blank word. PowerShell is a programming language.
Right?
Language. We speak language. We write language. So, anyways, that's kind of a weird intro. But TLDR, PowerShell is a language. You have to use it to develop fluency. And you can probably speak to this app. It doesn't take a ton of time, especially with PowerShell's verbose nature of like the way the commands explain what they're doing. You can get to a pretty cool place. And there's some other programming type stuff you'll have to learn along the way to sort of make fluency a little bit easier. But tackling projects is a great way to go about that. You tackle a few projects, you see the same construct a couple times. Maybe you write a blog about it. Maybe you show your coworkers. You really cement that knowledge. And it's a lot more accessible. And I will be honest, it is so worth learning to be fluent at PowerShell. It is such a beautiful experience to be able to discover in the command line and just go. You don't need to do all this prep where you find this blog that did it this exact way and then you run into issues. You can just trust yourself and go and know how to manipulate data and know how to pipe things and connect different commands and refer to variables. I mean, it is such a fun experience, and PowerShell makes it really nice, especially these days with PS Readline and the console improvements. It's such a fun experience to just be able to work on a command, up arrow, add the next little connecting thing. Oh, it's very freeing.
It is. It's all, and once you start doing enough, then like your PS Readline history it's all everything I have right there. So like oh, this worked. Oh, let me just run that and then kind of edit off that.
For sure. Yeah. Man, it's fun. I got to write a bunch of PowerShell this week for a webcast I did. And it is such a fun experience to start connecting commands. It really does feel like creative puzzle solving.
No, definitely. It's like building. I love building things. So just the whole kind of like my dad was a builder as well. He's actually an engineer, but on his hobby side was building. So he built his own house. We put an addition on my house with all by ourselves kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, he built furniture, built cabinets, it's stained glass. So that kind of work ethic of figuring things out has always kind of been ingrained in me. So using PowerShell is perfect because you're just verb noun, you keep on going.
Verb noun, you connect things together. It really is like if you think about it from a construction perspective, you connect all the different pieces of wood. You have a bunch of things at your disposal, a bunch of different cool tools and things you can tap into. And you use this PowerShell language to kind of hammer them all together. And I like to think of duct tape, you're just really wrapping everything and bringing things together, which makes it really nice for automation, which is what we also love.
Mm-hmm. So we don't have to remember it again.
Yeah. So let's talk some PowerShell. But dude, just congrats again, dude. I just
thank you.
So much fun. And to everyone out there, you can do what Clayton's done. Clayton, are 100%. You a super genius?
Nope, not at all.
You just know how to work.
Yep, and just putting the time in. Like that's an inconsistent time because I've known about PowerShell for years, and I do it for a few months, and then I'd kind of just, I'm too busy, I can't. and I just completely drop it. And then you come back and it's a little easier, but it's still like, it's tough. And I did that a handful of times. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm learning this. Like it's getting too much to try to do without it. Like I need some kind of easier way to, ease the load off of my back, my team's back. So I was like, I'm learning. Like, and I even started doing a Lego module, like for inventory. Like that's how I was like, playing with the APIs. That's how I learned. Was
Really?
Yeah, yep. So I'm big into Lego. So I was like, you know what? This is a fun project that I don't have to worry about like credential. Like it's not like I'm dealing with Microsoft Graph or any of that kind of stuff. Like, yep, using Bricklinks, Bricksets API, and just went with it. And then I used Doug's import Excel module. So then I have it. So then I keep my inventory in Excel. Eventually, I'm gonna change it to SharePoint, and then start doing, reports off SharePoint to keep my SharePoint knowledge up, and do that. So basically, and then having an Excel one as I'll say a local copy, and then also pushing up to SharePoint and Brickset, which keeps inventory of all my stuff I want, and all that kind of stuff.
Is this on GitHub?
I might put a little bit on there, but there is a PowerShell module as well. I didn't create that one, but I was going to that, so someone else did. But yeah.
Nice. So you have a project. I think we briefly touched on it last time. I think it was in like beta or something at the time.
Yeah.
But can you tell us a bit about, because this is kind of like your capstone project, sort of.
It really is. And I think it's probably what helped out with the whole MVP thing. So the module is called 365 Automated Lab. I got a lot of inspiration from Automated Lab for basically you can build AD and all those kind of things, servers up on a local environment. And so what happened was in my environment, we were trying to figure out how to make different groups, and for new hires, just dealing with like all the testing is just getting frustrating. Remember like who I had added as our test users, and then it just get like frustrating when you have a million different accounts in there. So I started just using Excel sheet. So I have one for creating new users. I'd have all the attributes I needed to use, and I'd fill them all in, import, and then they're in 365. Then that changed to groups, and that got a little more complicated because 365 actually has 4 different types of groups that all get imported differently. So they use different commands for them. Well, actually, there's 3 different commands, but 4 different ways. And so I had to figure that out. So I actually have to have a column for group type that matches up then to the correct commandlet to import them into 365, to add them to 365. And then the real part that really made me use Excel, though, was adding groups by either a job title, department, or any other kind of what's the word we're looking for? I'll say characteristic, because at our company and at most companies, it's tough to use dynamic groups across the board. So we needed a way for, say, for one title, they might get these, but then there might be a one-off, like, oh, they don't just get that, they get this one too. So I basically made an Excel sheet for, the title name, or I'll do like location. So if you have, say, multiple locations, you could say like, Florida IT, and then New York accounting, and just put all the groups that they're in, and then you just type in their name into Excel, into PowerShell, and just type in like, say, FL IT, and it'll add all their groups for them, so you don't have to worry about it. So it's automated without having to use dynamic groups. And then you have a log of what the absolute base standards are for adding, and then also if they leave, removing, or if they change titles, you can do it quickly like that.
So what's a good simple use case if someone wants to know, like, hey, should I be using this? What's a good simple use case?
I'll say this: if you use 365, I highly recommend it. And also although I don't know if they've opened it back up yet. They did the dev program. So I think they have it on hold right this second, if I remember right. Uh, but once they open that back up, if it's not back up already, you can actually create a 365 tenant. It's for developers, but anyone can use it. I just have to have a valid cell phone number for it, and you can create. They give you actually 25 E5 licenses. It's a demo account, so it doesn't have Windows in that E5. And there's one or two other things you can't do with it, but on the most part, you're not going to have to worry about it. But get that first. Like, don't even do it in your own account, especially if you're just starting out. Like, just make sure so you don't have any oopses of deleting people. Um, I mean, it happens. Like when you're trying to figure stuff out. Yes, there's the what if, there's the confirm. There's all those kind of things, but um, just do it in a completely separate environment for yourself. It's free. They say it can end in 90 days, but I've been doing it for over a year with no issues at all. But just do that, and then kind of see like what do you need to test with first. So you can even test conditional access. Just add a bunch of people. I even have a commandlet to export out your production users, so you have all their information at least into the test tenant, and then you can test a conditional access or a policy on those, see how it handles it, and if everything's good, then you're good in your production environment. Like you can do field for field into the test environment.
It's a good way to test things if you're in a 365 environment, then, huh?
Yeah, I highly recommend.
And it looks like the developer program is open. So if you wanted to sign up and get a license and further your knowledge, it's a good chance to get your hands on some more PowerShell stuff.
Yep, and or testing new features too within 365 with PowerShell to see how it reacts. Because sometimes it may look, it's not often, but sometimes there's a command that you think it does one thing, but it's not. It does it, but slightly different than what you expected, and you don't want to mess anything up in your primary environment.
Nice. So you mentioned that you're adding some new things, right? What's going on with Pester? I recently had a podcast with Mark Ragg where we talked about how awesome Pester is. He's the self-professed #1 fan of Pester. So what have you been doing with Pester?
So I haven't done anything more yet. I got these big plans at the beginning, and then I didn't get it fully. And I'll be honest, I kind of not gave up, but I'll say I had bigger fish to fry at that point. But I promise it that will change, and I'm actually going to add some real Pester tests to it and kind of figure out better. Because I even saw that they're not even, some aren't even working right now. I'm not sure exactly. Like I just caught that like a day or so ago. But it's kind of really figure out to kind of learn Pester better and to get a true understanding of how it works. I know in the long term it's going to be beneficial.
You know what, man? Sounds like it might be a good opportunity for some community support.
100%. I'll definitely take any help on that.
And I want to give a shout out to the Good First Issue tag on GitHub. If you have issues in your repository, yes, Clayton, you, but also people there at large. If you have a project and you want some new contributors, put the Good First Issue tag on there. If it's something simple that maybe you have a lot that you're looking at, you shouldn't be expected to handle a project all by yourself if it's being used by others, right? Sometimes that is how it works out. But ideally, and what we're trying to build here is a group of people who are happy to contribute and make projects better. So take advantage of that. But I also selfishly was thinking, I wonder if we could pair program on some of this. I'm trying to get more pair programming sessions in, but
100%.
Pester's a fun one.
Another, if you want to do a ProxMox API one, ProxMox, do that.
Oh yeah, what's going on with ProxMox?
Yeah, so I've been looking into. So I, like many, had a vmug subscription and have VMware as a home lab. And granted, they haven't canceled vmug yet, or have made any hints at it's going away. Honestly, I don't do a ton on my lab of like anything super super crazy. So I was like, you know what? I don't have to worry about it because if it's a last minute poll, I don't have to deal with it. So I've literally been testing out ProxMox, and testing out the API. There's actually a pretty good PowerShell module for it right now. But the way that they give the data after when it exports out, it's a little interesting, but it might just be me not fully understanding it yet. But yeah, so I've been actually playing around with creating my own functions, testing the API with it. I love to do some pair programming with you on that if you're interested. But yeah, overall, ProxMox has been great though. I mean, I've loaded up a server 22 on it. I've done a bunch of Ubuntu ones. I've deleted stuff with PowerShell, added stuff with PowerShell, changed RAM, like all the basic stuff. It's all can be done on there.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I love pair programming, to be honest with you. A lot of times my preferred style, especially if I'm working with someone, we're trying to just accomplish a task. It's not so much me teaching. I love when I can just type PowerShell and they can sort of guide me like, oh, hey, yeah, this is the name of the so-and-so that we're connecting to. This is the, oh no, we want to grab this and or like whatever specific requirements we're ending up searching for. Like, so I don't have to leave the file in VS Code. I can just keep typing there. It just feels so good. Because I get distracted easy, dude. I'll be honest.
Same.
Pair programming is where it's at for me.
Let's do it. We'll do an episode on it.
Dude, look at you, MVP.
or we'll do a user group.
Yeah. Oh, I like where this is going. Yeah, we'll have to chat because I'm doing a session at Summit on pair programming. So maybe we can do something before then.
Oh, yeah.
A little practice.
Nice.
Stream it somewhere. I was thinking about doing more streaming. Did you know we premiere these episodes on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time? Every single Monday on YouTube. I'm in the chat. Sometimes our guests are there too. We have a good time. We talk to the community. It's another way to reach out, another way to share words. Did you know we did that, Clayton?
I did. It's tough for me to get that time, but
for some it will be tough. We understand.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Right. I will try to be there when this one I'll try to be there. I'll try to really be in there for it. I'll see what I can do.
Oh, I'm sure people are going to say great things. But yeah, it's a fun chance. I'm trying to do the best I can to really lift up the PowerShell community, give them some good content to sink their teeth into.
That's great because then you get to actually hear from the actual presenter as well too. Ask questions kind of thing where they might have not been able to do time-wise, go into it, and they might have a great question for them in perfect time.
Exactly.
Or you meet them and then you talk offline and then create another connection. Good friendship.
Dude, you got this figured out, man. You learned a thing or two.
I did from the best.
No, man. You were destined for greatness. But I'm glad that, the podcast did help a little bit. And because that is kind of what we're going for ultimately, is like really trying to let people know what's true. Let people know that getting out there and contributing is a fantastic way to learn. Let them know that it's okay. Let them know that you don't need to be a genius. All the things that I learned oftentimes the hard way. I try to just reduce the burden for other people.
Right. And I'll admit, like, I'm a horrible writer. Like I am. Like I know I am. My public speaking isn't great either. But I just keep on coming out and just putting stuff out there. I mean, it's funny. So my mom actually gave me some like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade report cards. Different stuff. Because long story short, my dad had passed, and so now I'm getting all my stuff that she had saved, and I'm seeing stuff. It's like, doesn't do well if he's spoken to more than 5 seconds, like in second grade. Like I was in remedial reading, writing, everything. So I'm here to say that anyone can do this. Just put the work in. I'll help you out if I can. Just do it. It's helped out so much.
Yep. And you can do it. That's the most important message I want to ring true is like, you can do it. We are not uniquely special people. Right. We aren't. You can do it too. And your life will be better for it. And I'm so glad that you're experiencing some successes from this, because it really is such a great feeling. And it's so cool to see that for someone.
Really. And I've made so many new friends in the past year and a half, 2 years. Like, it's awesome. Like, met up people, like if they've been in New York City or in the area kind of thing, met up, talk weekly with people. Like it's awesome.
And I just love it. I just love it because I feel the same way, man. Even just from doing the podcast for a bit, like just the community, the connection that I feel is just so much more. And it's so much better to work and put your efforts into a place where you feel that sense of community. You're somewhat connected with the people who you exist in the same community as.
Right. And like, we're all going through some version of the same issue. Realistically, like, it's just what it is. Like, we're all doing it. Some have maybe gotten to it sooner, and we can kind of help out. And if not, we can learn from someone else.
Clayton, people love you. They love your story. They want to connect with you. They've heard you're so welcome and willing to accept messages and chat and share what you've learned, because you've learned a lot. How do people get in touch with you? What's a good way?
LinkedIn, Clayton Tyger, Twitter, Blue Sky, what's the other one?
Mastodon.
Mastodon. On all of them, it's Clayton T, but it's CLATENT. From previous years of other things, from Clayton Nutrition and Technology, that whole different story. Maybe I'll do a blog post on that. But yeah, Clayton T, or my GitHub is DevClate. That was a whole different. I'll actually have to do a blog post on the reasoning for that as well too. It's actually a little interesting story. But yeah, please reach out. Anything I can help you out with, I'll do my best to help you out.
Yeah. He's got to renew that MVP now.
That's right. I'll work ahead now.
Yeah, man. Well, that's very exciting. Definitely reach out to him. And Clayton, I'll have links and show notes to all of his socials. Of course, I got your back. We got those show notes on point. Click through. But Clayton, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Oh, jeez.
And you can't choose me, so don't try. But you choose. I want you to nominate one person for the PowerShell Podcast MVP Awards. If you had to pick one person to nominate, who would it be? Right now, no time to prep.
I'll say we actually talked to him about him already, but Christian Ritter. I mean, he's doing all the things. Like, I'll say we kind of came up at the same time. Like, him and I both, and we met actually through the podcast. He was
right
on there, so that's how we kind of met. And then he's definitely there. I mean, there's some other people that could be, but he's just the first person that came to mind for it. And he's everywhere. He's presenting all over the place. It's awesome. I mean, he's flying to the
really
US
cool to see.
to talk.
Yeah. Yep. No. Shout out Christian Ritter. It's cool. There's that podcast connection too there. Yeah, he's a friend. He's a friend because I found out he listened to the podcast, reach out, got to meet him, got to have him on. And yeah, he's doing great things. Love to see what he's up to. And I get to meet him in person. Yeah.
I know. That's awesome.
It's going to be fun.
It is. I should be there.
Yeah. Employers, come on, people. Come on. He's a builder.
Right.
He's a PowerShell MVP. Hook a brother up. Come on. But on a more serious note, can you give us what was the biggest challenge? And I'm kind of doing a twist up on the last questions here, but what's a challenge that you experienced, not code related whatsoever? Like, what was some of the biggest challenge that you ran into in your PowerShell journey, maybe in publishing the module, but if there's any other kind of things that stuck with you?
Starting. That was the absolute toughest part of it. Was it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, and it's not like it. I know it is, like, mentally it is the toughest thing you'll probably do, and just keep on trying. Even if you don't start it right that second, just try to start it, and just put that routine of getting and saying, you know what, go to your computer and just open up a GitHub, and then if it's just a GitHub, that's fine. Then go in and then create a repository, like, each day. Just take as much as you can each day, but then in a month you'll have a whole GitHub set up. You'll have some scripts in there, and you'll probably be sharing out to other people. Like, it just getting started is the absolutely toughest part I've had. Being here, you guys were actually my first podcast, and it was nerve-wracking in the beginning. Like, I was making sure I prepared everything, this and that. When I did my first technical video with Doug, I mean, I was practicing that thing every morning, this and that. Like, I was like, oh, Doug, can we do a quick call, like preview call, so I can make sure everything shows up right on the monitor? I mean, I do have to do a blog post for that too, because he was finding it funny, which I get. Like, it is like, but like, I used to do events I used to work at Vassar College, which we do high profile events, and also then classrooms. So we had to make sure that, the presenter was mic'd, their laptop or presentation showed correctly. They're mostly a Mac campus, so you had other dongles. So you had to make sure every little thing was set. And we did the mics for them as well too, sometimes wireless, sometimes not. So there's a lot of prep involved, so I knew all the things that could go wrong. So knowing that, I just wanted to make sure that everyone got the best experience that I could give them. So there was a lot of prep work involved in that.
Here's a different question.
Okay.
When you PowerShell and you're writing your best code you've ever written, some of the best code that might have ever been written, I don't know. I'm not here to judge. It could have been. What are you listening to? What is in those lovely headphones you have on?
So most of the time it's silent. It's so I used to be a big actually hip hop person.
A rapper maybe? Were you a rapper?
Yeah.
We have an album?
No, I never was. No album. I probably wish I did back in the day. I probably had some photos that looked like were albums. But that or sometimes I'll put a movie on. And it has that kind of background just if it's too quiet, depending on the day. But most time it's silent just so I can just think. Because, I have ADD. So it's just, you start watching something or on a video and, that's not too bad. And then half an hour later, they just finally write some PowerShell. So,
yep.
Yeah. But most time is silent, though. I'm one of those.
Favorite new module in the past 6 months that you've been rocking with? And why is it PowerShell AI Assistant?
No, PowerShell. No, yeah, PowerShell AI Assistant.
Dude, right, come on. You don't think I know my stuff?
I forgot they had changed the name. I know.
It's a new module, yeah.
Yep. But no, it's awesome. And then Weave, too, PS Weave.
Yeah, PS Weave.
Yep. That's another good one. Who else? I'm trying to think of actual different modules. Can't think of any other ones. Of new ones.
New to you. You've been digging.
Also, even the ProxMox one. Was that?
Maybe PowerShell Graph or Microsoft Graph.
Yeah, definitely Graph. Like with them changing that up and making it better still, and then also making sure people get off of online, MS online, all those Azure AD.
Yeah, Azure AD and Azure AD Graph. Those modules are, as of March 30th, which I think is near when this goes live, they are deprecated or they're not getting further updates. The only support you're going to get is converting to the new commandlets.
Correct.
So they'll still work, but like you should really get off.
Right. And I do know some people, and I have not dug super into it, but I know some people said there's some functions that are not on the new graph yet. So like for something that they do, like, I don't know how, maybe they haven't found the right person yet. But now next time I see it, I'm going to just kind of ask, because maybe they looked, a month ago and it wasn't possible. Then maybe there is a workaround for a different module that could do it.
I feel like they could at least do the REST call themselves if it wasn't in the module for some reason.
Right.
Because the REST API is there. I don't know though. Who knows? Right. If you have a super weird issue, I'm curious to hear about it.
Right. Yeah, let Andrew know.
I'm here to take all your very challenging problems, and I will definitely solve every single one of them.
That's right.
Without fail.
If you can't, I don't know who'll be able to. Then ask Meryl.
All right, Clayton. Fantastic chatting with you so far. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, listeners, for listening. You can give us a like, comment, and a subscribe. The comments really help. Hit the like button. That's super sweet. Helps us get seen by more people. Spread PowerShell to the masses. Sounds good to me. You can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. We've been ranking in the top 200s in various smaller countries lately. So thank you to all of our dozens of listeners in these different countries. It is a nice ego boost. I like seeing that. And reviews are always appreciated. If you want to nominate somebody for the PowerShell Podcast MVP Award, PowerShellPDQ.com is the place to be. The PowerShell Discord is also there for you. Discord.gg/PDQ. Clayton, dude, I know you shared where people can find you. Thank you so much for joining us on the PowerShell Podcast.
Thank you.
Your contributions have certainly gone noticed, man. And I'm so glad we could take this opportunity to highlight you and celebrate you and hopefully inspire some other people to get started on their journey. You know, the Microsoft MVP shouldn't necessarily be a goal. It's sort of a result that happens with great community efforts. The real benefits, you know, I can't speak to this because I'm not an MVP, but the real benefits are the relationships made and the lessons you learn along the way, to be honest with you, in my opinion.
100%. And thank you for doing the podcast. Like literally just from day one, been listening, and everything you guys have been saying, spot on. So everybody listen, let's keep on, make sure to listen to every episode. You can become an MVP too.
Yep. Great things are in store for you if you just follow the journey. So thanks for being on the journey with us and listening to this. If you're still listening now, you're certainly a friend of the podcast. I wish you the best. Clayton wishes you the best. We're here for you if you need us. There's a whole community of people, of like-minded individuals trying to do great things that are out there for you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. See you next week, every week.
Thanks for listening to the PowerShell Podcast. The PowerShell Podcast is a PDQ production, making device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick.